Aloha, I'm Terry Lilly, a marine biologist here in the Hawaiian Islands. I hope you enjoy my film. Clownfish, or anemone fish, are a type of damselfish. These cute little fish grow to be about 3 to 6 inches long, and there's about 30 different species throughout the world's oceans. They live in the tropical Pacific, Indian Ocean, Red Sea, Indonesia, but you will not find these beautiful little fish in the Atlantic Ocean or here in Hawaii. These anemone fish come in many different colors, like this black and white one. They also come in red, yellow, orange, many different colors throughout the world. This black and white one is a saddleback anemone fish. The reason why these fish are so special is they have developed a mucus coating on their body so they can hang out in the sea anemone and not get stung by the sea anemone's poisonous tentacles. When you see these anemone fish, usually you will find one large female, a smaller breeder male, and 4 or 5 young juvenile males, all within the same sea anemone. They hide in the sea anemone so they can stay away from predators, but at the same time, it's mutually beneficial to the sea anemone itself. These cute little fish hover and swim all around the sea anemone, which keeps it aerated so there's more oxygen from the water that the sea anemone can use to breed. And then these anemone fish also clean the sea anemone of parasites, and they even feed on the sea anemone's poop. When the little clownfish or anemone fish go to the bathroom, that actually fertilizes algae that grows in the sea anemone tentacles. So this fish is very important for the health of the sea anemone. Here's an orange fin sea anemone fish from Palau, and you can see the large females that cruise around the anemone, and then there's a smaller male that's there for the purpose of breeding, and then a whole bunch of little dinky males. If the female was to get killed, one of these larger Clark's anemone fish, then the largest male will convert into a female. And then some of the younger males, one will grow up and be the breeder male. It's a very complex society of these anemone fish within the anemones themselves. These sea anemones don't grow in the Atlantic or in Hawaii, and therefore you don't see the anemone fish. They hide out in the tentacles of the anemones because the predators can't get them because they'll get stung by the stinging cells of the sea anemone. They have their families, their babies, their eggs, everything right in the sea anemone. The larger females, often, like this Clark's anemone fish, look completely different than the smaller males. A lot of times people think they're different fish. The female can lay up to 500 or 1,000 eggs a year. And then, interesting enough, the smaller male, like this tomato anemone fish, takes care of the eggs. Even the younger male anemone fish that live within the sea anemone help with fanning or swimming next to the eggs to make sure they have plenty of oxygen so they grow well. This is the striped anemone fish or the orange anemone fish, and then these beautiful pink anemone fish. And once again, many of these anemone fish only live in certain types of sea anemones. And then there's certain ones that can live in 3 or 4 different anemone species, but then there's some that only live in just one anemone species. They're super fun to watch because they're always cruising around really fast. Some other species of fish, like these two-spot dacilus, when they're young, also can live in the anemone along with the anemone fish. These fish were made famous by the Disney movie way back in 2013 called Finding Nemo. And Nemo actually is a type of anemone fish called a clownfish. But once again, there's many different species of these cute little fish, up to 30 different species worldwide. You can see here, one of the orange anemone fish is cruising around in the anemone that's closing down. So they have a hard time actually hiding inside the tentacles. When the anemone's wide open and filter feeding, then there's a lot of anemone fish that can hide in the tentacles, but sometimes when the anemone closes up because it's being afraid of predators, then there's very little room for the anemone fish to hide. These are the spine cheek anemone fish. You can see that the female is huge, about 4 to 5 inches long and dark red, versus the young male is bright orange. These are the same fish species. And then once again, you'll usually have a smaller male and a larger female in the anemone for breeding, and then a whole host of young males that actually help take care of the anemone fish eggs. This anemone is a very dark colored anemone, and the spine cheek anemone fish is the primary anemone fish that lives in this species of sea anemone. In other parts of the world, like the Atlantic Ocean, there aren't very many large sea anemones, only small ones, so there just really isn't enough room and habitat for these anemone fish to have evolved in the Atlantic Ocean or here in Hawaii. But places in Indonesia and Palau and the Indian Ocean and the Red Sea, you may find a dozen different types of anemone fish on one coral reef. Here you have the false clownfish. This is the one that is really kind of looked at as the Nemo fish in the Disney movie. And you can see here there's a larger female, a larger breeder male that lives in the anemone, and then 4 to 5 young males. As this anemone closes down, the big breeding pair often be able to hide inside the anemone, but the younger males are left outside. Those younger males are very, very, very important for the health of the sea anemone and also for the breeding of the anemone fish. These little fish are really, really, really fun to watch when you're a scuba diver because they don't have much fear of people because they're hiding in the tentacles and they know that they can't be reached by most any predators. They'll actually come right out and attack a diver right in your faceplate to try to scare you away. You can see these false anemone fish or clownfish are cleaning themselves with the tentacles. They actually go in and out of the anemone again and eat the feces and the poop of the sea anemone, so it keeps it clean. And then at the same time, the anemone fish actually kind of fertilizes the anemone so it can grow algae within the anemone cells, which the algae is necessary to help feed the sea anemone. It's really wonderful because sometimes out in the ocean you have these fish species that will live in an invertebrate species because there's symbiotic mutualism with the sea anemones. They help take care of each other. The sea anemone gives a home to these clownfish so they can hide from predators. The clownfish, the anemone fish, help keep the sea anemone clean and healthy. And so they live in this beautiful symbiotic union. One thing that was kind of a negative after the Disney movie Finding Nemo was that these anemone fish got incredibly popular in the aquarium trade. And all around the world, they were collected off of the reef and sold into the pet trade, where they don't live for very long in captivity, so that was really a negative. But the good thing is, in the recent times over the last few years, captive breeders have figured out how to captive breed the anemone fish, and so they can sell ones that are captive produced and not take them off the reef. I hope you enjoyed our anemone fish movie and learned something about this very special fish. And please go to our webpage at underwater2web.com and you can see our entire underwater movie series of marine life worldwide.